Countries across the globe, including in the euro area, are seeing a resurgence of COVID-19 infections. It will accelerate structural trends towards digitalization and a carbon-neutral economy, reshaping our societies in fundamental ways.
Oh my God, so gross!
We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change, and global crises like pandemics and climate change know no borders and highlight just how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet.
The World Economic Forum makes no secret of its desire to promote the Great Reset. Here we see it's listed a number of videos on its channel promoting renewable energy sources. There are quite a lot of dislikes, and you can see from the comments that people aren't really on board with the World Economic Forum's agenda, but everything that they're proposing, from the Green New Deal to the elimination of paper currency, appears to be supported by other large bodies such as the IMF and the EU and the World Bank and the Bank of International Settlements. We're hearing more and more about how a digital currency would be rolled out on a global basis. This 2015 IMF working paper by researcher Miles Kimball reveals that the organisation doesn't think it's essential for paper currency to be eliminated before the electronic currency or the digital currency is rolled out on a large scale. And this paper proposes a number of mechanisms which would ensure digital currency could be adopted and implemented and used by central banks and rolled out to the general public in tandem with paper currency still being in widespread use. What they would do over time is disincentivize the usage of paper currency.
Almost half of consumers said they would prefer to pay digitally, and this has increased further as a result of the pandemic. The pandemic has served as a catalyst to accelerate the transition toward a digital new normal.
Okay, digital new normal. Interesting, Christine, but there are already a lot of private cryptocurrencies in operation. Can we not just use one of those? Do we really need a central bank?
Private digital currencies would not necessarily allow the same kind of convertibility and are unlikely to have the same state backing. Without a monetary and regulatory anchor, the stability of payment systems would essentially depend on the safety of private money issuers.
Yeah, who have an incentive to get it right, otherwise customers will move elsewhere. This idea, this unchallenged idea that the state is the only possible entity that can be trusted to deliver the required levels of security for payments. These people just are fighting for their own survival. I'm almost losing track month by month of which unelected body she is unelected leader of.
Introducing that digital euro would allow the euro system to be at the cutting edge of innovation, which allows to settle payments in real time, at any time of the day, every day of the year.
Of course, banks and governments are never at the cutting edge of innovation. They never invent anything. They just wait for other people to invent things and then regulate them. And as for all of this talk about how there will be instant payment transfers, it really is a tool to enable them to be able to tax and track everything in real time and monitor and surveil every single transaction that you make, rejecting and accepting them as they choose at their whim. This is what's coming. And not only that, but when we do start to have these digital payments, we're going to see that they'll be able to garnish your wages. They'll be able to take taxation off at the point at which you receive your wages.
And in the proposal that we're working on, to three key considerations, and I will finish with these three considerations. 1. Maintaining access to central bank money. So the euro system would continue to ensure that all citizens have access to banknotes at all time. The digital euro in any event would be a complement to, not a substitute for cash. The potential introduction of a digital euro as a complement to cash, not a substitute, could also allow a public source of outside money to remain at the core of European payment systems. But this is high on the agenda.
Just in case it isn't obvious, you cannot trust these individuals. She's talking about two systems operating together, and the speech that she presents here is very much the PR spin, the acceptable face of the emerging digitization of currency which will take place globally, and which has required the crisis of 2020 to trigger its acceleration. She's giving the highlights while glossing over the fact that every one of her proposals is drawn directly from this 2015 IMF working paper, aimed at permanently taxing your wages and your savings. Governments have spent money endlessly and have no way of repaying these bankers, so now they just want to tap your accounts for funds, but they won't tell you that that's what they're doing. They'll tell you that central bank digital currency is more secure and therefore you earn more interest for transacting using it, whereas it will cost you to use notes. What is the problem with this IMF working paper? Well, there are several. First, it's written by academics who have no real-world experience and have no understanding of even the fundamentals of how an economy truly functions. Their goal seems to be to tax and track every transaction that you make. They seem to think that they can manipulate vast numbers of people's choices and control the economy that way, whereas it actually doesn't work. In Europe, they've had zero interest rates since 2014, and has that resulted in additional spending? No. People have saved more. If the banks aren't offering any returns on savings, why would you invest your money into them? But mistakenly, the IMF conclude that they can manipulate all of society by taking interest rates negative. Here we see banks such as HSBC are already losing a lot of money, and the only way that they can make those losses back is if they charge you for keeping your savings in their bank. The global financial system is collapsing. No one is buying bonds in Europe as they yield negative interest rates, so they keep rolling the debts over as a way to avoid officially defaulting on those debts. This game of musical chairs, in which bond yields are going down and down, national debts and government borrowing are going up, and the lockdowns render the debt repayments virtually impossible, is coming to an end. The economies of the West are looking to use the political cover that the pandemic provides as a means of introducing digital currency as a solution to our problems. Far from being a solution, it may just be the beginning of a nightmare. So, what's my advice? I would say, own a store of physical silver coins that are easily recognizable and accepted in trade. Be prepared for the fact that this system is coming, even if it isn't rolled out immediately. Get ready to try, if you possibly can, to transact outside of the system. I realize that that's easier said than done, since you have to pay your taxes electronically, and nobody pays for utilities and rent and other similar expenses with cash, but via wire transfer or direct debit or standing order. I wish I could promise you that tyranny won't descend upon the world in short order, but I can't. So I would say get ready for this. Have some precious metals at your disposal. I'm not saying get rid of cash altogether. In fact, if anything, it's part of a balanced portfolio. But it's important to be aware of the machinations of these elites. They're acting out of self-preservation. You can't necessarily call them evil or guess their motives, but this is what's coming down the pipeline and we need to prepare for that. Thank you very much for watching this video. All the very best.
Think big and act now.
Things take longer to happen than you think they will. And when they happen faster than you thought they could.
And when they happen faster than you thought they could. You thought they could. We cannot let a good crisis go to waste. We have to use it to be stronger the day after.
Oh my God, so gross!
Thank you very much.